Hey guys, Moops here. It's time for another dungeon walkthrough from a BM Hunter point of view. In this video, I'm going to be going through a Mythic +17 Waycrest Manor. The affixes this week are Tyrannical, Raging, Volcanic, and Infested. If you haven't checked out one of my past videos during the walkthrough, I'll go through and tell you tips and tricks about the dungeon, talk about my rotation a bit, and why I do certain things, my mistakes, etc. If I miss anything in the guide, or if you have any questions, feel free to comment below or message me on Discord. Okay, let's get started. All right, so as you can see soul essences running to the front right here. One of the things you can do as a blood decay, and any tank that has a ground effect, prior to the pull, if there's an infested, so if you check out Method Dungeon Tools or something this week, there's actually an infested in this mob that he pulled right here. One of the things that blood decays, death and decay can do is if you put the death and decay down prior to the pull. So in the Mythic Zero, if you put a death and decay down as you start the key, the death and decay actually prevents one of the mobs from getting infested. And so one of these is naturally infested this week, but since he death and decayed as we pulled, it actually pulled the mob to us and prevented that infested. And so this is really good to do on, obviously you can do it on Waycrest Manor, you can do it on Mother Load. There's a pack at the beginning that's usually infested. You can do this in Siege, that pack right at the beginning. Freehold, there's a bunch of different keys that you can cheese this with. And so it just, we don't really need to do it here. It's just sort of like a gimmick that we wanted to do. You can start DPSing them a little sooner. It just makes it a little easier. So one of the things this week is raging. We're actually very good at raging. It's hard to tell here, but basically raging when a mob gets below 30% HP, they become enraged. And hunters are able to soothe that rage. And so you can probably see here. Okay, so there's the raging, and I soothe it off. It doesn't really matter because this guy dies pretty quickly. But as a hunter or druid, if you play druid, those are the only two classes that can soothe raging. We basically want to be doing it off cooldown on priority target ads. So the bigger, the hard hitting ads, you want to soothe those first, and then the smaller ones, etc. And so right here, these witches will spawn throughout the dungeon, and they hit hard, and so they are your priority target. Um, One of the other things you'll see throughout the dungeon that I do, instead of AoEing, I actually go pure single target. And one of the reasons for that is because we're running with the sub rogue. If you don't know, sub rogues deal damage based on the more ads are up. And so they deal increased single target priority target damage based on how many ads they're able to Phantom Knives, I believe is the ability they use. And they gain combo points. So basically, they're able to Phantom Knives or Shuriken Storm, I want to say, one of those. Phantom Knives, Eviscerate, etc., with the more ads. And so you don't typically, when you're running with the sub rogue, you want to play around the sub rogue, and you want to basically let the small ads. So like all these guys, we probably should let the sub rogue cleave here. I'm pretty sure we AoE them all down, but it's faster to let the sub rogue, since this stuff dies super quickly anyways. It's faster to leave them up since they don't really harm the tank, but you gain a lot more priority target damage on the bigger ads that take a little longer to kill, if that makes sense. And so we don't do it here, but throughout the dungeon we do play to the sub rogue. And a lot of sub rogues are really good in like MDI and stuff because of that priority target damage. So here we're just killing infested. If you don't know, you can tank two infested together. They will not heal each other. And so sort of one of the things you want to do when you're dealing with infested is you want to clear all the non-infested and then all the infested together to maximize time. Okay, so this is probably one of the most annoying and hardest bosses in this dungeon. So you see right there that I just used a turtle and canceled it for no reason. Well, the first boss of this council fight, Sister Solana, has a mind control ability, and she loves to mind control hunters, mages, rogues, etc. And she loves to use your immunity. Well, the bosses are immune while you're mind controlled, and if you're using an immunity for 10 seconds, well, there's 10 seconds of wasted time because your team can't do anything, right? Because you're immune and they can't deal damage. I think they take 99% reduced damage while you're mind controlled. And so it's basically just a waste of time. And so prior to the fight, immunity classes want to dump their immunities so that that doesn't happen. And so that's why I just use turtle randomly. And I think the rogue used evasion, if I'm not mistaken. So this council fight, they switch at 50%, so you'll have to fight all three of them twice. Um, the second, Sister Milady, her special ability basically deals damage the more you stand still. And so as you can see, I was sort of moving around like a spurg. But you just want to keep jumping up and down, moving around in a circle so that she doesn't deal damage to you and doesn't stack up. The third lady does a thing called Jagged Nettles, and basically what it does is it puts a debuff on you, and so every time you deal damage to her, it's reflected to you. And so basically, if you get that on you, you want to stop dealing damage until your healer heals you above 90% HP. And so, okay, so fast forwarding back to here, so we're on the second round of Sister Selena right now. So we just got the Demon Hunter got mind controlled, the Rogue just got mind controlled again, so we just need to turn and kill it. We kill the boss. Okay, so Sister Milady again. We're going to be moving around, keep moving the Aura of the Dread. So just I'm jumping around like a maniac. Just doing. Luckily, we're BM Hunters, so this doesn't really affect us at all. A lot of caster classes this boss is super annoying for. Okay, so the last sister, the big thing you want to look out for is Jagged Nettles. And this whole time, we want to be interrupting the casts. So obviously, the more you can interrupt, the better. She does another thing called Bramble Bolt. You interrupt that, it's not a huge deal. The big thing is Jagged Nettles, so it goes on the rogue. So it does a lot of damage to the rogue. And you see, I actually help Spearman the rogue to help him get above 90% HP. And so Spearman is your friend. Be using it on you, use it on tanks, use it on if Jagged Nettles, someone gets Jagged Nettles, use it on them. Okay, so we do a lot of big pulls in this dungeon, and so the tank's actually walking through and getting a lot of stuff throughout this hallway. And so I put a tar trap down, so he got a couple packs. Actually, he got 2 packs. Okay, so the guards don't really do that much damage here. The big thing in this group is the captain, the Bewitched captain. They put as you can see, they started casting the Spirited Shield. It's a little blue debuff above their thing. Basically, it reduces damage they take. And so so we are able to purge that off of them. If you have a mage in your group, let the mage steal it first because it's a defensive ability and they actually gain that defensive. So captains truck really hard, and so I'm actually sitting there, and I soothed the captain. And so you want to focus the captains down first. So we're just killing stuff. So I soothed the guard just then. I'm sorry, I soothed the captain rather. So I believe we're spawning a witch here somewhere. Oh, maybe not. Oh, there it is. Okay, so the witch, if you don't know how the witches work, they are stealthed and they pat back and forth in these hallways, and so they can spawn anywhere in this hallway depending on where you go. So again, the witches hurt really bad, and so you want to focus down the witches as much as possible. And so the sub rogue is actually focusing down the witch right now, and I'm actually targeting the witch. I soothed the witch as soon as it became enraged because he hits like a truck. And then as soon as that's dead, then we just go to this other stuff. It's sort of just this other stuff is just sort of fodder. It doesn't really do much. Um, like I said, the Templars or whatever they're called, the captain. There you go. The captains are the ones that deal a lot, and the captain was actually infested this week, right here. And so we CC'd him, and so that pack wasn't very dangerous once we killed that rogue, the witch rather. Sorry. So we're just finishing up Infested right here, killing the captain. The captain has a cleave, so you don't want to stand in front of the captain in melee range. So Spirited Defense, we want to interrupt that. We didn't interrupt it. I purged it off really quick. Actually, I think I let the Demon Hunter purge that one. So right there, I actually should have soothed that guy, and I did not. Uh, I just don't think I was paying attention. It wasn't a big deal, obviously. And so right here, one of the things you can do as a hunter is stealth. So use camo, and so stuff like this where basically you're being a wannabe rogue, right? You're trying to go up and sap something. So I actually fail super hard here. I meant to CC this infested dog. Clearly I don't CC the infested dog. And so again, this is one of those things where I actually go pure single target because I'm trying to kill Gahoons here, right? Gahoons are priority because if something gets infested, we're screwed for a while. And so I actually don't. That's negative. I am beast cleaving. The Demon Hunter kills everything though. But basically, right there, what we should have done, we should have gone pure single target to let the rogue deal the single target damage on this Thorn Shaper. There were a bunch of small ads. You could have gotten easy combo points and could have killed this Thorn Shaper a lot quicker had we not AoE'd, had I not beast cleaved and the Demon Hunter gone Mongo with I-Beam and stuff like that. So obviously it's not a huge deal. We could kill it, no problem. So this is just a miscommunication. He didn't realize that I had trapped this hound, and so we're just killing this infested, and we leave the hound CC'd over there. Kill the Gahoonies right here, and then he's like, oh shit, hound. Okay, so we need to kill him. So we wasted a little time here. We could have killed that hound earlier. Okay, so one of the things previous to this week, I think they fixed it this week, or I want to say the last week they actually fixed it when they like during BlizzCon, and I was at BlizzCon, so I didn't realize they had fixed it. But as you can see here, previous to this week, Stomp would pull things through the floor, and so I'm being a very good boy and not using Barb Shot at all, so that I don't stomp, so that I don't pull anything through the floor. And halfway through this dungeon, they tell me that it's been fixed, and so you'll see later on I do start stomping. But for this first half of clearing this room, I'm basically not hitting barb shot at all because I think that I would be pulling um, if I did it. So right there, so that Thornguard actually has a natural enrage aside from the raging affix, and so I cleared it, I cleansed it right there. And so we're just pulling everything. So the mini boss hurts a lot. And on Fortified, you typically don't want to do big pulls like this, but since it's Tyrannical, it doesn't hurt that much. Um, the big thing is making sure you interrupt the matron, and especially this week, you want to soothe her as soon as possible. And so, as you'll see here, I'm actually a tad late in soothing her, but it works out. It doesn't hurt the tank that bad. So she's about to enrage here. So she enrages. I soothe her right now. So it was a little delayed, and the tank got a couple big hits, but he was able to soak it, or tank it fairly well. Okay, so I think, I want to say like right here is when they told me that they got fixed. So I was a little hesitant at first because I didn't want to fuck the key up, but I think, yeah, there you go. So now I start beast cleaving and stuff, using barb shot, doing actual damage, and it didn't pull, so that it is fixed. So you're safely able to beast cleave and stomp and everything in this area. Okay, so this pull, we actually messed it up pretty bad. So we actually let one of the pigs get infested. So we failed to kill one of the infested. And so there's an infested half like in the pack right now, which we did not intend. All right, so this is sort of a miscommunication right here. And so obviously this guy is healing up this whole pack, right? So we try and separate him from the pack. And a couple of things you can do is you can either kill him off, deal with the infested, and then deal with the whole pack, right? But this whole pack is beating on the tank while you're doing that. Or you can stop DPS, CC this guy once he's out of the pack, continue killing all this stuff, and then come back for this guy. Sometimes this isn't always possible because someone puts a dot on him, there's a bleed, something that you're not able, something will break the CC, right? And so luckily we communicate after this incident happened, and so a couple of us are DPSing this infested, right? So we're like, oh, we'll just kill this infested. Then tank's like, no, I can't handle this. And so we actually go communicate that, hey, let's peel off of this guy, go kill it. We'll try and CC this, right? And so I peel my pet off, I call him back, and then I put a freezing trap down. And so we successfully peel off of him. We run around while the tank's just kiting for his dear life over here. So this was a very bad pull. This was not intended to happen. We weren't supposed to get that infested, so we're sort of winging it right now. But we pull it off. The Ring of Peace is amazing. All right, so we turned that bad situation into an okay situation. We wasted a little time, obviously. The tank didn't have to kite around in a huge circle like that. But for a big pull, it actually went fairly well, considering we let an infested go off. So I forget about these little maggots that spawn. All right, so then we kill off this infested. All right, boss time. All right, typically you want to save lust for this boss. It's typically the third boss you do. I'm sorry, second boss you do, and it's typically about that 10-minute timer when you go, depending on which way you go at the beginning, right? So there's 4 ways that you can go at the beginning. Either go towards the council boss first or towards the gluttony boss first, and we got towards the council boss, obviously. So this guy's had of the 3 bosses on this floor, he's halfway in between, always at the 10-minute mark. So he's also very hard. He trucks the tank a lot. So the way this boss works is he basically gains stacks of damage as the fight goes on, and you cleanse his stacks of damage by dragging him through fire. And so this boss is actually draggable all the way throughout this entire concourse. You can go up these stairs off to the right here. A lot of people don't know that, but you can go anywhere in this concourse. To cleanse his stacks, you drag him through fire. Well, so he's dragging through fire right here. The fire, so when you drag him through fire, the amount of AoE damage is increased based on how many stacks he has. And so you sort of want to find a happy balance between, how much the tank can tank and how much AoE damage you want to do. The other mechanic you have is you see these little red spirits walking around. They almost always go towards the healer, I want to say. Basically, if you come in contact with them, they do a lot of damage. If anyone comes in contact with them, they do a lot of damage. So just be wary. The healer just needs to heal them, or I'm sorry, just needs to ignore them and heal past it, dodge them. So you dodge them as well. The fire, so be using Spearmint here, Exhilaration, anything to help your healers. The Soul Thorns here, there's no really way you can stun it. So you can either kill it by damage, or some stuns work to immediately break it. And so, unfortunately, none of our stuns. I think intimidation works, but by the time you send your pet over and stun it, basically, it's already dead anyways. And so we really don't do anything besides damage the soul thorns. And so this boss is pretty easy for us since we're moving around a lot. We can um, and so one of the things that you're able to do with this boss is one, fast tanks like Vengeance Demon Hunters and stuff. You can actually jump around back and forth and never have to drag him through fire because he's actually fairly slow for a boss. And so one of the things that our DK actually did, I'm pretty sure he sky stepped at the very end there because instead of dragging him through fire, he would have rather just, tanked it because obviously the fire does a lot of damage, right? And so the fire happened to spawn right where he was walking, so I don't think that was intended. But you can just drag the boss around without having to deal with fire. If you're fast enough, I know when I run with Shakib that he will literally just jump back and forth instead of actually tanking this boss. And while it might be slower damage-wise, because he's not dealing that much damage, obviously, this boss hits hard on Tyrannical, and so higher keys when you get into 18s, 19s, it's actually more beneficial for him to just kite it around. I know if you have like a druid healer, you can also do a tank ping pong where, or I'm sorry, you can ping pong the boss back and forth. So the tank and the druid healer, whoever has a taunt, basically stand at opposite corners and just taunt him back and forth. And so that's another thing you can do with this boss. Okay, so we down him and we're going to the next boss. A lot of tanks, if you're going to be doing big pulls, will pull back into this hallway just to LOS everything, help gather everything up. And so we're actually all waiting because he's going to go get a bunch of mobs. We just AoE them down. I put the tar trap down to help. The binding shot to the gorgers jump around like that very often. So the binding shot just helps to root them, snare them. So I soothe this gorger. I soothe that gorger. Again, just clearing out all this trash. There's a lot of little trash here and there in Waycrest Manor. Okay, so this part is actually pretty funny. Um, so I realize halfway through that I'm not dealing any damage, right? I'm like, what the fuck is happening? So they actually shut the door on my pet as, as so I come over here, open the door for my pet, and yeah, so I wasn't doing any damage to that pull because they locked my pet in the other room. So that's the thing. That's actually never happened to me before. And this day we were doing keys, it happened to me 3 times. And so apparently it's a thing. You can lock your pet on the other side of the door. Okay, so right here, I'm actually holding cooldown, so I don't use my Aspect of the Wild for a while. And I could have used it, like I could have used it this pull. I believe it came up mid last pull, if I'm not mistaken. Um, So I think that we're doing boss right after this, and so that was a miscommunication because I definitely could have used my Aspect of the Wild here. We actually pull a couple packs after this before the boss, and so there would have been plenty of time for me to have Aspect of the Wild up for the boss. But I'm intentionally holding it here because I think that we're doing the boss next, and it's obviously a very high Tyrannical key, and the boss hurts a lot. So just CCing the infested, pulling all the small stuff out. We get another witch. And so right here, what we should have done again, man, we're really not playing to the sub rogue, but what we should have done is basically not beast cleaving, let him kill the rune weaver with all those maggots up. So he's still doing a decent amount of damage, but he could have done a lot more damage. So you see right there, I soothed the witch very quickly. Go through, kill the infested. I think there's one more pack that we kill. And so this whole time I'm just sitting on Aspect of the Wild, just wasting it. Because I want it for the boss, but at this point, it's, you know, if I used it, I won't have it for the boss. And so it's sort of just, I should have used it when it came off cooldown back there. But it is what it is. All right, so now we're doing the boss. All right, so this boss 100%, aside from this beast cleave, I definitely go basically pure single target on this boss, just so that the sub row can have additional combo points to pump this boss. So there's a lot of ads that spawn throughout this boss. There's the little globules that he just spawned, and then there's ads that walk from the outside. Um, Basically, yeah, so you see here I'm going single target. I'm letting the rogue just get combo points off these ads. And so all these the servants that walk through the ad, if they reach the boss, they actually give him a damage buff. Usually it's not a big deal if you let the servants go into the boss on like fortified keys and stuff like that because you'll kill the boss before the stacks of damage even matter. But on high tyrannical keys, the stacks of damage can actually add up. And so we're actually I'm letting the Demon Hunter do it. I'm going pure single target. The Rogue is trying to get as many combo points off on this through the ads as possible, but we're still killing the ads before they reach the boss. And so you see right there, we actually CC the same one, but you can CC the ads as they're walking through. I put a tar trap down to slow them. And so the rogue this whole time is getting combo points, right? He's phantomizing or shuriken storming, whatever the rogue ability is. These green patches on the ground slow you by a lot, and the amount they slow scales with the key difficulty. And so on a 17, these patches actually slow you pretty heftily. And so it's best to avoid them if possible. You do have disengage to get out of them if you run into one, but try and avoid them as much as possible. All right, so we kill the boss. And so you see the rogue, like despite us killing some of the ads, the rogue pumped that boss. And most of his damage is pure single target, right? Like his combo point generating actually does not deal that much damage. All right, so we pull these. We pull it with an infested, but it's just a small infested, so we kill it off pretty quickly here. Make sure to kill the infested. I use binding shot to root the infested, the Gahoonies. So I soothe that piglet right there. All right, so we've basically cleared almost all the trash. I think there's one more pack of trash that we have to do down here. Yeah, so this trash right here. All right, so we kill this infested dog. He's pretty easy to kill. So we kill the Gahoonies before they get infested. Okay. So right here, this pack can be pretty dangerous. There's a witch here, and there's a captain here. So the captain will cast the Spirited Defense, and then the witch will cast Etch. Both of those should be interrupted. If you do not interrupt the captain, you need to purge the Spirited Defense off of him. So this, so just kill everything here. So as you can see, there's a lot of damage going out here. The witch does a lot of damage. So just past this pack, you want to be really careful because there's a mini boss similar to the mini boss you fought just before the tree boss. Basically, if you can skip it, you want to skip it. So it sees through stealth, so we actually distract it as it pats through that hallway right there, and we come down the stairs. All right, so this trash can be pretty dangerous. There's a lot of there's a couple witches and there's a couple of the shades from the very first part. The big thing that wipes a lot of groups here is that the witches will put candles on the ground, and you can sort of see. Let me see. Okay. No, you can't really see it from my positioning. Okay, right there. So you see these little markings right here. The witches will put candles that look similar to that on the ground, like right here. You see these little markings? So they'll put that on the ground. As soon as the tank sees that, they need to move out of that area. The witches gain a damage debuff when they're in that marking. And so you want to basically kite these ads as much as possible. You want to focus down the witches, so the rogue is actually focusing the witches down here. The witches truck the tank. All right, so we do that pretty cleanly. All right, kill off the last infested. Man, my transmog is awful. I forgot to transmog my shoulders this dungeon. All right, so if you don't know this boss, you have Lord Waycrest and Lady Waycrest. You have to kill Lord Waycrest multiple times. Basically, when you lower Lord Waycrest to, I believe it's 20% HP, Lady Waycrest will use part of her life um, to regenerate Lord Waycrest, as you see there. Both of them hit the tank really hard. This is a tank fight and a healer fight. As DPS, we don't really take that much damage except when we get that little poison cloud. The little swirlies, this thing, discordant condense, whatever it's called. The little swirlies are actually, I want to say they're bugged. They don't deal as much damage as they're supposed to be. You can definitely stand in them and they won't deal that much damage. They still deal some damage, so we're BM Hunter, totally dodge it if you can, but if you have to, it's okay to stand in it. And so you just kill Lord Waycrest 3 or 4 times here. Just keep going back and forth. The big thing for the tanking is at one more time we kill Lord Waycrest, and right here. So Lady Waycrest is about to jump down and join him. And It's a little deceiving because Lady Waycrest seems to only have about 10% HP, but she actually has more HP than Lord Waycrest at this moment. And so you always want to kill Lord Waycrest first because while there are two of them down, the tank is getting hit really hard. So he's getting meleeed by both of them. Plus, Lady Waycrest is casting an ability. I think it was racking cord right there, and so that's interruptible. The wasting scythe that she casts, they all hurt the tank really bad, and so you want to interrupt as much as possible on Lady Waycrest, and you want to kill Lord Waycrest as soon as possible. So at this point, you want to be helping your tank out with like Spiritmen, stuff like that, as much as possible. If they need it. If they don't need it, obviously you can save it for yourself or something, but you're not really taking that much damage in this fight. And so I would use Spiritmans on the tank and stuff. Okay, so once you kill one of them, the fight's pretty easy. She doesn't really do much at the end. Just keep her interrupted. But as you can see, she has 10%, but it's taking us just as long to kill Lady Waycrest as it did Lord Waycrest. All right, so we kill here. So some of the things at this point, so with these gloom horrors, there are, I want to say 7 of them. And so they give you about 7 to 8% total if you kill all of them. These act very similar to the cats and the dogs in like Darkheart Thicket or, all those Legion stuff that basically they leap at the furthest person. And so there's a bunch of different things you can do with them. If you're going to pull them, you basically want to try and have the tank kite as much as possible, or have someone out that can soak the jump as much as possible. And so we're actually fairly good at this. We have a lot of self healing and stuff. We can soak a lot of healing. I'm sorry, we can soak a lot of the jumps. They die fairly easily. There's a spot down here that we actually tank him in on a route where Snap's standing, and I'll show you. This is a little bit of miscommunication. I thought we were going to tank them upstairs, but we end up tanking them on the route here. Basically, they won't jump if you tank them at a certain spot on this route. So as you can see, they all snap to him, and so I jump down. So pets are a little weird at this area. Your pet always has to go around this way, and so just be wary of that. If someone's standing up here and you're fighting down here, your pet has to go all the way around. Um, and so the pathing is a little weird here. So just be wary of that as a BM hunter. So this is the route that he's standing on. So as you can see, they all snap to him. None of them are jumping right now. So this is very easy if you can get this positioning down. Very easy if you do have to kill them. Doesn't do any damage. It just hurts the tank, obviously. And there's another method that you can do with all of them so we actually do both methods. So we needed a little percent. So we pulled 5 out of the 7 dogs. And we're actually going to skip the other 2 dogs. And I'll show you here. It's not a good point of view for me since I'm going the opposite direction, but I'll sort of talk about what he's doing. Okay, so the tank runs ahead and everyone else stays behind, right? We don't want any aggro, so I actually go camo to hopefully not gain any aggro from these guys. But the tank will pull. Okay, so right here there's a split. So you can go down the stairs or up the stairs. You can pull these gloom horrors, and you can do it with all 7 of them. The tank will run up all the way to the very top of these stairs, and at the very edge, the gloom horrors will actually reset. And so if you don't want to, so say you have percent already when you finish the last boss, the third boss rather, fourth boss, excuse me, you can actually reset all these horrors and not have to deal with them. And so we actually go all the way down here. None of us get aggro. The tank resets them all. And he makes his way down. All right, so he reset them all. And he rejoins us. Boom. And so very easy to do. Not really a good point of view from this angle, but it's pretty easy to do. I mean, you just run up the stairs. All right, so this boss is super simple, but you can easily let it get out of hand. So all you want to do is just kill the Death Touch slavers, and you want to burn the Death Touch slavers when they die. And so you see right here, he dies, I burn it. It's very easy as a BM hunter that you want to do it mostly yourself, since obviously you're not penalized for movement. Like you want to let the healers, the melee and stuff just tunnel the boss or tunnel the ads at this point. And so as long as you keep burning them every time you kill them, so you focus the ad, burn it, focus the ad, burn it, etc. And you're basically just cleaving the boss. Um, this boss is very simple if you do this. The hard part about this boss is when you get behind on the ads and you start getting two, three, four, even five ads, and the boss basically becomes unkillable because something the ads do is that as soon as they spawn, they do right there, Death Lens. And Death Lens basically stuns a random party member for, I want to say 5 seconds. And so if you have two, three, four ads, um, you can't. So Death Lens is interruptible by a knock, Death Grip, etc. And so you can get away from one of them, but as soon as you start getting three, four, five ads, you can't. You basically get perma stunned, and you can't do anything because of the stuns. And so as soon as you let the ads get out of hand, this boss just goes to shit. And so as long as you're on top of doing the fires, damage on this boss isn't that big of a deal. You really just want to stay on top of the ads. Towards the end, um, so say like once he gets to like 10 to 15%, you can actually ignore the ads and just taunt the boss, um, which I think we do. All right, so right here we actually the timing is really weird because yeah, so someone's getting the thing instead of me. So there's a little miscommunication. I think it just landed on Jack one time, and so I think he just started getting them from now on. But we ended up killing both ads. We fired it, and we got back on track. All right, so I'm pretty sure right here we ignore the ads. All right, guys, that's a wrap for this dungeon. I might try and do another Waycrest later on just so you can see the point of view from one of the other paths. But if you like the video or want to get more Hunter info, hit that subscribe button and check out my stream on Twitch in the link below. Thanks for watching, guys.